Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 25th, 2023 at approximately 4:16 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are precisely the same philosophies I guide my own life by. In addition to this, the tools I offer have been handed out to literally thousands of people. Over my lifetime, I've had well over 100,000 clients, and literally thousands of them have benefited and succeeded based on their own personal efforts on these tools. Okay, yes, I certainly offer a different way of looking at the world. And frankly, the way things turned out, there's no way that I'm going to start thinking like people here. I'm literally not physically capable of it. And I'll get into that some other day. But for the moment, welcome and thank you so much, people, for sharing your time with me. We have right off the bat here, we have Raymond with the gold, and Jack, Lord Royal Jack is in here with the silver. Nightmare, you have arrived with the bronze, and we have Football Cat in with honorable mention. In addition to that, we have Emmy Tonga has just shown up as well. And just to be clear, there's not a single person in existence that is more important than the next. We are literally all equal in that aspect. Even if you believe in God, okay, now personally I do. Even if you believe in God, he is no more important than the next. That is fantastic, Joe. Welcome aboard. Joe's just letting us know that not only does he have one spirit guide, he's now got a second one that has surfaced. Now the fun begins. The one thing to remember there, Joe, is where it comes to spirit guides, pretty much everybody has a primary that shows up. And then they will have other ones come in and come in from time to time, depending on what you're going through. Now, I decided to tangle an ages-old question. Okay, are we an experiment? Are we an ant farm? Or, for that matter, if neither of the above, what is our purpose? And I will get to all of that today. Okay, let's start with the experiment. Okay, now, from my understanding and from my recollection, call it my belief if you will. Okay, call it my belief. Call it what you will. Call it peanut butter sandwich. It works for me. Probably should have got more water than I've got here, but what the heck. But first and foremost, let's tangle with the first issue. Are we an experiment? No. We were given an opportunity as spirits. We were given an opportunity to experience the physical world in the third dimension with severely limited senses. Okay, hence why you've only got 5 fundamental: sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smell. Now, in all fairness, taste and smell are essentially the same thing. Angels of Life, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And bang that around a little and let us see here. Angels, where are you? Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be able. There we are. Can't see it for looking. Okay, folks. Here we have the link to Angels of Life's live stream. Absolutely. Drop in, give her a listen. Okay, if you like what she has to say, come right out, give her a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Now, the thing is, we were given an opportunity, okay, to experience the corporeal life, this physical world we live in. Now, people keep talking about dimensions, and oh, we're ascending to the next dimension. Bad news, no, you're not. And yeah, I say that in a very emphatic standpoint. You're not getting there. Not yet. Eventually, each one of you will be able to get to another dimension. But when you came here in the first place, when you first took on a corporeal life, and it may not have been a human life, by the way. In the third dimension, there are races and species way beyond count. Okay, so some of you may well remember a past life, and it may be more prominent than this life. So you may be looking in the mirror going, I'm not from this world. I can't be from this world because I just don't see things this way. Well, the reality is, in this form, you are from this world. And I know that's going to upset some of you, but I got over it. Didn't get over that, mind you. Now, you are absolutely correct. Okay, I am, and I don't know if you were thinking this, but what the heck? I'm not exactly known for being subtle. Okay, and Joe's just adding on. The first one was a male spirit guide. I've been hearing him all day. The second spirit guide is female. I heard her say my name in the shower this afternoon. I mean, what else could it have been? Well, there's a couple of possibilities, Joe, but I do agree with you. Okay, and rest assured, it's when you start to relax and simply accept the fact that guides are there to help you. Let's be clear on one thing regarding guides, and clearly this is going to have to be something that we deal with. So I'll get back to the other topic in a second. Where are we here? No, we're not changing that. So let's get this out of the way. Make sure I haven't already booked myself. Put that down there. Oh, okay, that's going to be a bit down the road. Looks like we're going to go off kilter a little because I have a sneaking suspicion. Let me ask you this, guys, before I go down that road. Now, I've got it laid out, or more to the point, we've got it laid out, as in I talked to you guys about it. On Sundays, we have open. Matter of fact, that's probably the easiest time to do it. On Sundays, we have an open topic. Mondays, we deal primarily with aliens. On Tuesdays, we're dealing with gaming. Then we've got Wednesday. Wednesday is dealing with self-help. On Friday, because Thursday I'm not here, that's my gaming day. On Friday, we deal with the paranormal, and then on Saturday, we're back to self-help. But we've got a topic we're going to have to pop in here. And I'd love to hear from you guys, because I'm going to have to squeeze it in. I just know this. When it comes to the purpose of spirit guides, what day do you guys figure is the best one to put it on? Because I'm already booked up most of the coming week, so I'm going to have to do a little juggling. Okay, and I know I can't put it on Friday because it's already been moved once. So let me see here. That's my map, or my calendar. We're here today. Oh, yeah. And this Wednesday, we're dealing with how to cope with people dealing with dementia. Okay. But yeah, we're pretty solidly booked this week. So we're really booking into the beginning of October at this point. Okay. But what do we got here? Just taking a quick look. Okay. And I just got to scroll back up. I did sort of catch the question. I will get to it as soon as I scroll down, as soon as I get to the ones before it. Finally figured out how to hold the stream stable. But what do we got here? Nathan, we are looking at Nathan here. He has come into the room. So let us turn around and pop this up. This is the link to Nathan's stream. And no, I haven't gotten completely lost on my track. This is the link to Nathan's live show. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Now, let's go back to the issue of the experiment, and I will get to the questions as I scroll down a little, as I scroll down while we're going on. So, for those of you that are already aware, my stream tends to go from here over there, comes back in, that goes behind me. You get the idea. Okay. If you've got a question, absolutely come right out and ask it. Put it in all caps in the chat room so that at least I can find it. Something I should bring up here. Where are we? Not that one. Don't want that. Okay, we can take that. Oh, wait a minute. That was wrong. Sure, get myself completely sidetracked. There's a good idea. There we are. Pull that over here so I can actually keep an eye on what goes on, because sometimes something comes in there. Now, take that, pop that there. That way, if I get a message on Facebook, at least I have the opportunity to see it. Sort of. Now, we were given the opportunity. This world was built. To start with, it was just built. Then they came up with the idea of giving the rest of us as spirits a place to experience the physical world. Was this an experiment? No. It's no more than an experiment than you tidying your house up. Okay. It was an opportunity, and thus far, sad to say, mankind has done a phenomenal job of squandering that opportunity, at least in my opinion. Okay, mankind has lost so much of its way, and bear in mind, it's not just mankind that's done this. Okay, one of the biggest things we have to realize is that even now, like society is in a bad way. It is on a very bad path because, as we discussed just the other day, many people are not being taught basic survive. Not, and when I talk about survival, I don't mean basic live in the woods, be able to kill your own dinner, be able to raise your own garden. I'm talking about being able to talk to your neighbor, being able to handle a phone call or an interview. Okay, now I'm going to jump up here and we'll put this in perspective really quick, but you got to give me 10 seconds to grab something. Now, voices. You posited a question in the chat room here. Okay, you asked, but where are we? Where is, there we are. Voices, you asked a very simple question. You went, can humans date cute fairy girls? Well, in all fairness, in my experience, you'll be hard pressed to find one that isn't cute by human standards. But let me ask you this. This is a life-size model of a fairy. Okay, that's how big they are. Now, technically, could you date one? The answer is yeah, technically you could. But let me ask you this. Okay, is this likely going to work out as well as you might think? Okay, are they dateable? Certainly. Okay, but honestly, you're not going to get very far in certain areas. So and this is, in answer to your question, yeah, it is possible. Now, what do we got here? I absolutely agree with you there, Nathan. And, with that one in mind, okay, with that one in mind, what we're going to do is whoop, yeah, I'm already booked to the 30th. So we'll start booking down the road, and I will keep you guys posted. I'm getting a little better at it, I hope. Okay. So I've got it written here on October 13th. Yes, I realize that means we're looking at 3 weeks down the road. But I've now put it in here so I can work with it. Okay, now, as for being an experiment, the answer is just flat out no. Mankind, there are many corporeal races that are following through with experiments. But humans were put here, first of all, well, in a nutshell, humans were built for war. This is part of why they are as aggressive as they are. Okay. But just because you're built for war, just because you've been raised in a complicated home, maybe you grew up in an abusive home, this does not mean you have to abuse people. The fact that the race was built for war does not mean we are incapable of peace. The reality behind it, from my experience, is 50,000 years ago, with over 10 billion people on the planet, we had world peace. There was no war, there was no jealousy, there was no greed. We had peace. Can it be done again? The answer is absolutely yes. But it's only going to happen if the majority of us start actually doing something about it. This is not going to happen overnight. Okay. What do we got here? Lord Reproduction is just going. Oh, there we are. Yeah, we're just getting a little bit of a toss around here. Yeah, Lord Reproduction is up in Mississippi? Yeah, I think that's how that fits. Okay. And of course, Emmy here is in Oregon. Myself, I'm up in Kelowna, BC. Okay. Now, the reality of this experiment thing. Okay, let me ask you this. If you're given an experiment to do you not hope that that experiment turns into something more evolved than what you've been working on? Virtually every parent that I'm aware of, okay, most of them turn around and go, yes, I've got kids. Let's see if we can get them on a better footing than what I'm on. Okay. This is ideally what people are looking for on the whole from everybody I've talked to. So, are you an experiment? Well, if I'm an experiment, something went really sour because nobody down here seems to get it. As far as the God or the gods go, whatever you believe in, okay, I've just taken a look at it and gone, okay, we'll start with, if God is in everyone, then I've got the power to create my own reality. I've got the power to create my own world. So I'm setting out to do that. And yes, I'm absolutely asking for your assistance and your participation. But okay, that should be it. Okay, I was right. This is what I get for touching a mic that I'm just now getting used to. Okay, now, with this in mind, the experiment idea, we just take the whole thing and go, not it. Okay, now, are we an ant farm? Well, clearly not. Take a look at the way, if you ever look into it, and I encourage you to do your own research. Take a look at an ant farm. Every ant is off the tail feathers. Every ant is working towards bettering society. Now we take a look at humans. How many humans do you know that are sitting on their tail feathers? Now, I'm not talking about the people on the street. I'm talking about the ones that are living in homes, that are living in their own houses. How many sit there staring out at the idiot box going, I'd like the world to change, but I'll be danged if I'm going to move. Okay. Ants don't sit down and wait for anything. They get up and get the tailing gear. What do I do here? I will have to make sure I get a look at that. But with this in mind, okay, so if we are not an experiment and we are not an ant farm, what are you here for? Okay, what is your purpose? And I'm just scrolling down before I answer that. Well, in a lot of ways, Nathan, you're right, except for one small little detail. Okay, that small little detail is this. The animals in a zoo aren't in a nature preserve are not given the option of getting out of the nature farm, okay, out of the reserve. Humans have the capacity and have already implemented the capacity. Mankind, and you don't have to take my word for it, do your own research. Okay, and humans are already on the moon. I don't mean they've been there, I mean they're still there. On the moon, on Mars, on Io, and on Titan. And yes, I know people are telling you that, the scientists and the governments are saying, oh no, we're not getting off the planet. And there's lots of people that go, no way did we get off the planet. That's all a sham. Because they were using CGI back in the 60s when it happened. I will not argue what it feels like there, Nathan. Nathan's just going, it feels like I'm stuck in a farm. I won't argue that point. Okay. It does. On occasion, I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall on a regular basis. And I'll tell you that's annoying. Well, I will tell you this, Nathan. When I was a kid, one of my goals was to get off this planet. What I forgot to tell them was don't bring me back. Okay, that's been an oversight for ages. Oh yeah. I used to live on 2 acres there, Jack. I lived on a 2 acre hobby farm, and yeah, you can get some pretty big, pretty industrious ants. Okay. You absolutely can. Now, there is no question there, by the way, Joe. For all of you, we are being observed. This doesn't mean we're an ant farm. This means we were given an opportunity. Early on, mankind got sidetracked. Okay, that's very much the case there, Jack. The idea of are we an experiment? Well, here's the way I look at that. If we're an experiment, how about we turn the tables? Instead of going, okay, you want me to jump through these hoops? Let's design our own hoops and design what the observers are going to be witness to. Oh, Joe, where that voice came from. Okay, that voice you heard. Number one, you got to realize when people physically pass away, this does not mean that their soul is gone. They still have access. And if there's any number of possibilities, this female may be just somebody that is seeing and that is witness to what you're going through and has heard you go, I really want to make a connection. And she turned around and went, okay, done deal. You desire to make a connection. I'm the connection. Now let's see what we can do with it. This is where you start looking in the mirror and go, okay, I've got two support people that don't follow the rules. Okay, I've got two support people now that are willing to give me insight beyond what corporeal man will do. This is the time to look in the mirror and go, okay, what do I do with this? Now, let's just assume for a moment. Well, no, it's very much a case, in my opinion, that we are being observed, much like man observes other animals. Collects them, gets fluid samples, gets cell samples, knocks them out, and does their best to put them back in a natural environment. There's a lot of people that are working in that industry that what they do is they see a wounded animal, they pick it up, nurse it back to health, and with as little physical contact as they can get away with, and then let it back out into the wild. Now I will tell you, you let a wild animal back into the wild, it is changed. Okay, there is no doubt this is an animal that has changed. Those of us that have been taken, when we come back, we no longer see the world in the same fashion we did. Okay. Oh, rest assured. Nathan's just going, there's too much weirdness. That's obvious for it to be all human only being involved. Absolutely. Okay, now let's understand something. Okay, and I've had some rather interesting conversations over the years. This whole reality is intertwined. You do something, it will affect the people next door. Okay, it absolutely will. You make one change in the way you're doing things, and it's going to affect the next little while in your life. Okay, but take a look at the compare when you look at the diagrams that we've already discovered, the configuration of the atom, the configuration of the planetary involvement, the configuration of the universe. They are all very similar in configuration. This cannot be a random act. Okay, but I do like the way somebody put it. Oh, I was talking to a gamer the other day, actually one of my gamers, and he goes, "I believe this world is run on it's chaotic neutral." Well, we got into a long discussion. The logic side is the framework in which we're all living. The chaos side is the fact that we were given free will and free choice. We were not given freedom of consequence. So I'm looking at this going, I'm facing a very serious complication myself. Now let's just go with I'm being observed. How is he going to handle this stress? Is he going to have another heart attack or is he going to try and bottle it and have another stroke? Well, I'm writing the stroke option off. I've tried those and no fun. Okay, but if you're being observed, why not give them a show? Instead of showing each other fighting amongst yourselves, why not show these people that are observing that we can get along, that we can work together? Maybe, just maybe, this will inspire them to do the same thing, as in get along. Yeah, Nathan's just adding here. I figure there are some advanced humans here staying hidden. However, there are others here too. I've seen a few myself. There absolutely are. Some people are very evolved, very aware. Okay. I'm fortunate in that I look at the people in this chat room and go, a lot of you have some phenomenal insights. Okay. One little detail here, just a bit of a sidetrack. But if you do like our stream, do me a favor, give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. That'd be absolutely appreciated. I find that an interesting question there, Jack. Jack's just asking how many alien bases are in the ocean. I cannot begin to tell you. Okay, that's like asking me how many cities are in BC. I have never taken account of them or how many cities are not on the world, but here's what we've got. We've got civilizations that humans are not aware of that are set up underground, underwater. There are even cities and civilizations that are quite literally set up in the clouds. You've seen some of them and didn't recognize it. What have we got here? Yeah, the inner earth is it's a phenomenal, it's a phenomenal menagerie there. A lot of what we see and a lot of what humans call mythological creatures or fairy tales, a lot of them are based in reality. Let me put it this way, where it comes to the underwater there, Jack, there is, and I've been told it doesn't matter if I tell you this one, because you guys ain't getting to it anyway. There is a complete underwater civilization below the silt level in the San Andreas Fault. Okay, that is, or more to the point, started out as a sea elephant city. Okay, since then they've taken on a lot of other entities. So the fact of the matter is, mankind can't get down that deep. But here's the kicker to it: when the sea elves and there is a name for them, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, so I will have to do that. And where did it pen? What I'm doing is marking down a research project of my own. See, there are a number of different races of the dwarven community, which I talked about just last Friday. We have the same thing with elven and with human. Humans have lots of different races. One species. Okay. And this is why I get it and why I look at this. People get really upset about people's skin color or orientation. I mean, realistically, what difference does it make what gender somebody is that crawls into bed with somebody else? If they're not crawling into your bed, what difference does it make? Realistically, other than, oh my gosh, it sounds so terrible. I've tried a lot of different things. That's one I'm not going to try. Just not going to happen. Okay. I did try ketchup and ice cream. I recommend you don't actually follow that. Personally, I found ketchup and ice cream is a really bad mix. What do we got? Nathan goes, imagine a lot of these deep places are out of phase, and we just can't adjust our phase to be able to get there. Way too hostile. It's not that they're way too hostile in a lot of cases, but you're right on the money, Nathan. And this is where I think we run into a lot of trouble, where people go, it's a different dimension. It's not a different dimension, at least not from my experience. It's a different vibratory rate. You take a look at it. I put my hand up. It's easy to track it if I'm moving it slowly. Okay. But the second you start moving it in a hurry, you can't see the hand. This is what happens With the Philadelphia experiment, they found out it worked really well. Yeah, well, oh, there we are. Yeah, and, yeah, in all fairness, Nathan, I have no idea personally who Anjali is. Okay, but that happens to a lot of people. You know, they turn around and they go, okay, I've had something weird. Okay, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, and then they make something to make it make sense. Okay, and that becomes a real critical problem, where all of a sudden, what do you believe? This is why I tell people, yes, I write science fiction, or science fantasy is more to the point. And there is that question: am I making up the races I'm talking about? Well, that'd be great until you start realizing that so many people I talk to, I'll tell them, this is what I know about this race. And they'll go, I've seen them do that. Well, to me, this is just simply, I've got a little bit more access to information than other people may have. Okay. Now, this does not make me better than anybody. Quite frankly, I question my own, you know, shall we say, my own intelligence itself. But I'll go with it. But here's the thing: if you're an experiment, why not take advantage of that? If you're being provided tools that can potentially make your life better, because all experiments are essentially designed to give you the opportunity to see an outcome. Usually they're trying to find out, will this work? Okay, I know when I was growing up, going back to the ant thing, we had two mounds of ants, two ant nests. And I was only like, 8 or 9 years old. But we had a great big mound of black ants, black harvester, and a great big mound of red harvester ants. So what did I do? I picked a shovelful of one color up and dropped it on the other one, just to see what would happen. Okay, now, with that in mind, okay, we can go the idea of, we're living in an experiment, we're in a test tube, we're in a petri dish, we're living in the matrix, and it's all pre-programmed. You can call it what you will. All of you have your right to your own perspective. Myself, I look at it and go, call this an experiment, a lab experiment, a petri dish, an ant farm, call it a jam sandwich. I don't care. Okay, call it anything you will, but maybe it's time to start living your life. Okay, maybe it's time to start changing the way your life has been going and altering the path to what you desire to see happen. Now, I'm just scanning up here a bit. Yeah, absolutely, Jack. And this is a nice thing. You know, there are problem parents out there. Absolutely. Okay. And people say, I didn't choose to live in this and to live in this life. From a corporeal standpoint, certainly not. But every one of us did lay out what we were going to gain wisdom around in this life. Okay, when we come here, we're the ones that laid it out to say, I desire to gain this experience. Why I'm putting myself through this, I have no functional idea, except for one possibility. Okay, the most rational decision or rational reason for it is experience living on the edge of poverty. Heck, I'm right smack in the middle of it. Okay, experience that so you get to understand it. So when you've got the funding to do the other side, okay, when you've got the option of creating an empire that can provide other people, you know how to treat them properly because you know you didn't like that one. Okay. Now just looking here. By the way, Nathan, thank you so much for bringing me up to speed on who Anjali was. Joe. Oh, one issue, Joe. Like I'm reading this and it says, I even asked the voices in a polite way. Stop that. There we go. In a polite way to stay because they mean no harm. I knew that. I also asked if they could give me more signs of their presence. First thing, okay, you're on the right track, but instead of asking them to do the above, thank them for having already done it. See, humans have been trained to live in linear time. Asking to see something says you're not seeing it, and this makes sense because you're not. Okay, but the universe hears it when you go, I'd like you to do this for me. The universe hears, I'd like to experience a lack of this event. So it steps up to the plate and gives you exactly what you asked for. Nada. Also known as Spanish for nothing, if I recall correctly. Okay, start thanking your guides for giving you the information you're seeking. Thank them for showing up in a way that you can both accept and understand. Okay, this will, in my experience, help you immensely in bringing this to bear. Now, we are an experiment, but here's the thing. Have you ever noticed some animals, they'll sit there, they'll finally figure out you're watching them, and then they'll do something completely bizarre that seems right out of character. Okay, here's an idea. Let's assume you're being observed, which, by the way, is pre-functional. Okay, time to start doing things a little different. Okay, time to start showing yourself what you're capable of. This is just a critical issue. Okay, at least from my experience. Now, I'm just looking here. See, the nice part about all this, let's just scroll down. Okay, now, from a human standpoint, yes, this is an endless existence. However, here's what you're here to look at. You are in the third dimension right now. All parts of you are in the third dimension. Some parts will be vibrating at a much higher rate, so you can't see them. Okay, some parts of you may well be experienced just being quite literally, pardon the expression, but you may be living your life simply as a mushroom, as in living in the dark, being fed, guess what? Now, the nice part about what's going on here is you have the opportunity to change things, but it's up to you to actually make that happen. But here, all in all, this is what happened. Okay, from what I've seen. And yes, in all fairness, I turned around and wrote about this. Yeah, I keep going back to this because, quite frankly, it works. This series. Now, right now, I'm bringing the Return to Paradise to a close. But book one, which will be the next one out, okay, I literally explain in detail how the soul got separated, how all your parts got scattered all over the place. Okay, now I can't give you a number for your component parts, but I can tell you this. You're scattered all over the place. Your purpose is to remember who you are, who and what you're capable of. This means take all those component parts and bring them back together. Okay. so that you have all your bits and pieces. Now, this is where the concept of a soulmate comes in. But the experiment here is see how fast you can actually pull your head on straight and go, I'm changing the rules. I'm making my life into what I desire. Okay. In all fairness, Carl, you know, um, it sounds like I'm talking, topping hypothetically, but in my experience, I'm talking what I've actually borne witness to. Now, here's where you get to the other dimension. Once you pull all of your component parts together, and I mean all of them, and this may take many more lifetimes yet, then you go back to the central hub. From there, you can choose one of the other 12, the other 11 dimensions to go back to go into. And the kicker is when you go to another dimension, you separate yourself into smaller component parts again. When you've gone through all 12, you've experienced all 12 dimensions. Then you come back to the central hub, and now you can go on to the next level. Okay, there at some point, and even I don't know where the end is. Okay, bear in mind, my memories, and you can call me a complete lunatic if you'd like, or an incomplete one. Okay, ultimately, Jack, that is exactly what I'm saying. Okay, if you believe, for those of you that believe in God by any name, okay, it does tell you, at least in the King James Version, that God created man in his own image, inside and out, although it doesn't tell you that, not anymore. Okay, you have the power of creation in your own hand. Okay, you can take your life and you can change it into what you desire, despite what anybody's telling you. The only person you have to remind you that you really have to listen to, and it's kind of hard to get away from them. Okay, is yourself. Whatever you do. Okay, like I went to a number of shrinks. Okay, and no disrespect intended to any of them. It's a layman's term for psychiatrist. I went to a number of psychiatrists and psychologists over the years. Every one of them that is licensed, that is trained, have all told me the same thing. Mentally speaking, I'm fine. Yes, I've got one heck of a vocal temper where it comes to dealing with stupid people. So their idea was stay away from stupid people. They also wish me good luck with that, by the way. Okay. But yes, ultimately, we have the capacity to create what we desire. And let's just look at that for a second. If you haven't done this before, or if you have, take your hands, turn them palms towards each other, bring them within a quarter inch to a half an inch of each other. You'll feel something between your hands. Now, once you feel that, concentrate on it for a moment and let your hands pull apart as far as you can comfortable and then as far as you can while you feel that energy running between them. You're creating that. You are not not a little chipmunk, and not a little chipmunk, not a little cricket standing there going, oh, you got to do this, don't do that. We all have this funny little part in our head that says this is a bad idea. Okay, I'll tell you, I wish that man that had kicked in when I got encouraged to try ketchup and ice cream. That was just a bad idea. But with this in mind, okay. Oh, okay, Carl, I'm right down at the bottom here. Spiritually speaking, I have a question for you. Is the difference with having a timeline and a deadline done? Well, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Does the difference between having a timeline and a deadline have any important significance with the universe with the universe we thrive? Functionally, a deadline is self-imposed, and it has an impact on the universe, but it's not relative to whether the universe continues. A timeline simply says, here's the path I'm following, but understand the future is not written. Okay, if you look at a timeline this way, we have the past, and we'll just pick the elbow as a starting point. Your past takes one path. That's all there is. Okay, you go up the past and you hit the present. Okay, this is your playground. This is where you get things. Now, I've only got 5 fingers here, like most of you, although half the time that's a debate. But when you get to here, you get all these different opportunities that you can choose from. Okay, now this is your timeline. This is the path you're on. When you get here, you get all these options. But when you pick one, okay, the moment you pick one, all these other ones are completely out of the equation now. You cannot go back and pick them up with the same tools you had before, because that's all changed. Okay, but of course, now you're going down this road, and we do the same thing. We back your present up to right here. This is where creativity and where creation starts for you. Well, more to the point, is where it manifests. Now, when you're looking at a deadline, this is something that either somebody else imposes and says, you have to get this done by this point, or you tell yourself that. And deadlines will cause, in all likelihood, some stress, which is probably why I keep missing my deadlines. And then those are even the self-imposed ones. On the other hand, I had a phenomenal stroke of luck today. When I quit, when the company I was working for closed, okay, I debated for 6 months whether I was going to go back and do the consulting. Okay, I finally decided I was, but I was watching out for one specific client. Okay, and no, I'm not going to tell you who they were, but I was watching out. I've been trying to find one specific client. As it turned out, they were trying to find us as well. This morning we made contact. Okay, which is absolutely fantastic in my eyes. Yeah, Joe goes, oh yes, I believe in God. I'm watching Padre Pio documentary on Tubi right now. It's great. And the fact of the matter is, I have always believed, I personally believe in God by whatever name you want to call him. Okay, because in the research I've done into the different religions, they basically all teach the same thing. The question is, are you going to take that ability of yours and use it to create harmony on the planet, or are you going to use it to create discord? That's your call. You have the freedom of choice to do either. You don't have freedom of consequence. Okay, now, like I said, are we an experiment? No. But I figure since I'm in this life, and since I'm pretty much stuck here for the foreseeable future, I may just as well see what I can make happen. Okay, in spite of the obstacles. Unfortunately, I don't deal well with a lot of things. Now, what do I got going up here? Who sent me a message? Oh, I will have to get to that afterwards. Now, yeah, and one of my contacts on Facebook is just going, I don't know, maybe you've heard about the good news going on Facebook yet, which is something I'm going to have to look into. I'll have to catch up with them and find out what good news Facebook is up to, because most of the time I hear things about how bad they've gone and how much control they've got, etc. Oh, and absolutely, Jack. But here's the thing. Jack's going, I've heard in some shape or form, guard your thoughts my entire life. Well, it is accurate, but it's not something to fear. The problem is that mankind has essentially programmed itself. You've followed leaders that have said, be afraid of everybody around you. Be afraid of thinking differently. I myself, by my own parents, was told, keep what you do a secret. I failed miserably at it. But here's where the confusion really kicked in. Right about here. Yes, I'm out of sight. Something to do with the fact that, well, where'd it go? There it is. Now get this. All my life, I was told, keep what you do a secret. Don't tell people how you see the world because it will cause problems. Now, this was from a set of parents that were extremely supportive. And yet, that same set of parents, after telling me to keep what I do a secret, turned around and bought me for my 16th birthday, my 16th Christmas. They bought me a deck of tarot cards. Yo, don't tell anybody what you're capable of. Keep it quiet because it will cause problems. And then they bought me this. What I don't know if they were expecting was me to take this and turn it into a life drive. And yes, at some point we will get into the ins and outs of this. Okay, but what I'm talking when we're looking at think first, speak second. When we're talking about this whole thing about an experiment, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, what can I do to make my life better? Now, people talk about experimenting with a change in clothing or experimenting with a change in hairstyle. Okay, now, or experiment with talking to people, ask for their input on things. And, I forget who, oh, it was iVoices. I get a kick out of this. This is the ultimate in acceptance. Is it possible to set a relationship up with somebody this much different in size? Not to mention the fairies fly. Okay. Not all of them, but many of them. Okay. Some of them fly. I mean, you're talking about a world that is very different. What have we got here? Joe's just saying Shia LaBeouf, Transformers actor. Oh, okay. I watched Transformers, but honestly, do I know the actors? No. Heck, I have trouble remembering people's names. Okay, so remembering which actor played what, very few of them do I actually recall. Oh no, Jack. That you can worry about it if you like. Okay. Yeah, if you look at that, the multiverse does exist. Absolutely. But those negative thoughts that you've had do not create a change in the world here. Okay. There is an interesting situation where you can extrapolate and create all kinds of problems if you'd like. But your actual thoughts in this world, it is not, a lot of the Christians I talked to when I was a kid would turn around and go, thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it. Okay, well, let me put it this way. If that's the case, bearing in mind that this gentleman here, Jeremiah Wolfstrand, was built by me in the second chapter. Okay, Jeremiah kills 7 people without blinking in a very violent fashion. It's 10-1 odds against him. 7 end up dead, 2 really badly wounded, 1 guy gets away okay. This will put Jeremiah, or me, if you will, in that timeline up on murder charges of several people. Okay, and trust me, he doesn't slow down a lot. He's the pacifist in the group. I go back to 1914. Okay, I was living in Chicago, Illinois, and I ended up being put in jail. While in jail, I killed seven other criminals in the jail cell. Of course, I looked at him when I didn't kill him. Sure, I know I tore his arm off, but I didn't actually kill him. This is very much the case, Jack. The reality of it is this: you cannot undo that which you've done. You cannot unthink that which you've thought. You cannot unsee that which you've seen. And the list goes on. This is why going back in time doesn't work. Going forward in time, you can absolutely do. And we'll discuss that at a later date. But when we talk about those thoughts, those negative thoughts, people try to say, oh, thinking about it is as bad as doing it. You think that way, you're going to hell. I will tell you, hell's got some phenomenal hot tubs, and their deep massage and deep muscle massage or deep tissue massage is to literally die for. Personally, I find the hot tubs a little hot, so I'm not participating in that anymore. But we are looking at a world that we can make a much better one. Okay, what I haven't quite figured out is how to get out of my own way. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm a professional procrastinator. Okay, and that creates some complications. But just a quick little update. The government body that has been playing such havoc with me had phoned today. I'm going in to talk to them to see if there's something they've decided, that they've decided they will do, and we'll see what happens. But am I going to stop the path I'm on? Absolutely not. Okay, I did talk to somebody because I've written a lot of poems in the past dedicated to other people, and I talked to somebody just this morning, I think. Yeah, I think it was this morning. Yeah, it was. I talked to somebody and I asked them, I said, the poems I wrote to you, do you mind if I put them in the anthology, providing they don't have your name? And the person went, absolutely, go ahead. So I will be, I've started collecting which poems are going in. I'm starting to look at how to get things done. I'm just going to do it the best I can. Absolutely, Nathan. Yeah, the funny part is, you go back 3 years, and I would have told you wholeheartedly, I don't require people around me at all. Okay, and the reason being, I couldn't tolerate what I considered absolute stupidity. Turns out, a lot of what I see as stupidity in other people, turns out it's a question of being truly ignorant. As in, for whatever reason, they didn't know what was happening. They didn't have the information. Okay, now what I'm looking at is, okay, I will talk to pretty much anybody. Like you, Jack, I actually don't mind skeptics at all. Okay, I have a problem with the ones that go, I'm not a skeptic, I'm just right. Okay, no matter what you tell me, I'm right. Now, this creates a problem. That's absolutely fantastic, Jack. See, I've only personally been in a casino 9 times in my life. All 9 times I walked out with more money than I went in with. Right. But I figured out a formula where it virtually guaranteed it. If you got a stubborn streak to model and to utilize it. And yes, I will end up sharing that at some point. Problem is, the gambling is, as we've seen, psychologically extremely addictive. By the way, test tube time. So sugar. Okay, so many people have a massive sweet tooth. Oh, where are we? Ah, Jack goes, not gambling, working, seeing their sickness. Yeah, and that's the other side of it. Okay, I used to, I mean, I'm glad you weren't gambling and had that problem, but there's a staggering amount of people that lose a lot because of reaching for that thing just out of reach. Okay, the promise of an easy, of an easy fix, of an easy cure. Okay, here's an easy cure for you. And I do mean literally cure. If you're fighting with depression, okay, don't give in to it. I mean, you can, that will solve the fight. But find the fastest paced dance music you can find. Crank it as high as socially acceptable. Now, whether you crank it or you crank it or you crank it, I don't care. Okay, crank it as high as socially acceptable and let it run. The increased vibratory rate will bring your mood back on track. Okay, but if you feel like you're in an experiment, time to start making it. I am glad to hear that, Jack. You know, sad to say, if I'd have paid attention to what I knew was coming financially, I wouldn't be in the mess I'm in right now. Okay, but I think I figured out how to turn something around and buy myself a little bit of time. I do know once I get the publishing company up and running that, once I start making a little bit of money off of it, I do know I'm going to set not only myself up and my kids, but I will set up everybody I can so so you don't have to worry about it. Now, right now, the premise I'm working on is this. Okay, if you've got a poem or a short story that you desire to get printed, I am doing it. Whether the government helps me or not is not a concern to me. Okay, but all I require at this point, because I haven't found a lawyer that knows what they're doing, and I do mean that quite literally. I phoned a notary public up, asked them if they do this paperwork. I don't know if we do that paperwork. I'm sorry, if you're a notary public, you might want to know what you do. But if you've got a poem or a short story, I am putting an anthology together of both. Okay, with the poem, I don't know about the pricing on the short story. I got to work on that. But with the poems, okay, I simply require the poem itself and a letter from you, signed by you. And I don't mean digitally signed. I'm sorry. I go with the whole idea of let's go with handwriting, shall we? Something physical signed by you that says, this is my work. And yes, you have the right, and you, as in me, has the right to reproduce in part or in whole this work and sell it. Okay, and sell it for a profit. Yes, you will end up getting a chunk of it back. As a matter of fact, you get the major majority of it back of the net profit. Okay, and that's all it's going to take. Now, I have no idea what the legals and what the current normal method of doing things are. That method is something that I grew up when I took law in high school. That was what I got taught. So I'm working with it. You know, but if you feel like you're being watched, give them a show. Take your life. Don't take your life. Um, Work with your life, with your energy, and create a world that you can look at and say, hey, look what I built. How many of you remember doing this? Make a card house. Okay. You get the house built, you have this great big spread, and then you turn around and go, look at what I made. Some of you may have taken pictures of it, some of you may not. but almost invariably you put it together and go, that's what I made. Okay. And, like I can look at this. If I stand up and don't hurt myself. This little item here. I spent months making this thing. Okay. I spent months making this and then turning with my own hands. Okay. Didn't use a machine. I literally used a crochet hook. Okay. Made that, turned it over to my dad. Semper Fi there, Black Dragon. Glad you could join us. Okay. There is little that you cannot, accomplish if you set your mind to it. Okay. Oh, something, just a point of fact. Okay. There was something that actually prompted this. Okay. Like I've told you before, I do believe wholeheartedly in God, in Christ. Okay. Well, my father's middle name was Joseph. Okay. So you can see, if you know the Christian world, you can see why this ended up being many colors. You know, but yeah, I tried that ayahuasca. Yeah, I did tell people, get me off this backwoods mud ball. Well, they accommodated. I forgot to say, don't bring me back. At this point, I'm looking at it going, okay. Nope. In all fairness, ayahuasca, I can shoot that one down because my middle name is actually Keith. Okay, I go by my middle name. Yes, that's exactly what prompted it. Was the whole idea of the coat of many colors. Okay, I forget who sings that song, but I love the song. But that's what prompted it. Okay, I did another one for my brother. It's up front, right? My brother that passed away. I did a patchwork one for him. And he turned around, he took a look at it, and he was cold all the time. So I made him a patchwork blanket. And he looks at me when he got it for Christmas. He says, it's great. I don't know what to say. He says, where did you buy this? I said, I didn't. I made it. Thank you very much, there, Emmy. I appreciate that. That works out well considering I've been country since forever and a day. But my older brother took a look at the patchwork and he said, where did you buy that? I said, I didn't. I said, I made it. And he almost bust out in tears. I look and he says, I just don't know what to say. I says, I think you just said more than you ever had in your life. I was fortunate. After he passed away, it was gifted back to me. So it right now is sitting up front of my love seat. Now I just gotta get my other half up here to have somebody to sit there with. But when you look at the idea of, are you in an experiment? Let me ask you this. What happens if you were in an experiment? What would you do with your life, given that you're just part of an experiment? Okay, you still have free will, you still have free choice. So what are you going to do? Let's just assume for a moment that you're the one that's right and that this is nothing but an experiment, that we're just living in a petri dish, kind of like Horton Hears a Who. Okay, what are you going to do with your life so you can be content with the way your life is evolving? I know what I'm doing with mine. I know Nathan's working on some interesting projects. You know, yeah, the reality of it is, however you got to where you are, okay, you know, or as it said in Beyond Thunderdome, wherever you are, there you are, which is pretty much the situation. So, however you got to where you are, What are you going to do from here to make your life feel a little bit more enjoyable? The question is not, what the world has to give you. The idea when you came to this world was see what you can do to leave this place in better shape, one way or the other, than what it was when you got here. There's a level of success. Now, I was told one day that a person is not judged by the height to which they climb, so much as by the depth from which they climbed. Now, understand, I'm living right on the edge of losing everything. That's just the way it is. It's not going to happen. Okay, I'm not going to lose everything. I've found a couple of loopholes I might be able to deal with. But what are you doing to take your life from where it is and bring it up to what you consider the next level of prosperity? In my case, I'm working tooth and nail to make it happen. Joe's going, I'm just hoping by the end of 2023 that I fill up my composition notebook completely with screwed up dreams. I'm halfway there right now. Then I can start on my second composition book. That is an excellent goal. And in all fairness, Joe, we are, what are we? 31, 62, 92. You shouldn't have a problem there. You're looking at 92 more pages. And as long as your notebook is, if your notebook is only 92 pages more, you'll make it easy. Okay. If it's a 300-page notebook, you may have to get to writing. Okay. But by the way, if you're looking at that, if you write in your composition book every day, Iowans, number one, I suggest you change the idea of you want to make it to I desire to make it or I'm making it. Okay, absolutely make it happen. Now, from what I gather, if you want to get a real good look at it, I don't see a problem with it, although I do suggest one little detail. Make sure you keep it in a sealed place, because if those monkeys get out, they are a pain in the neck in your house. Let me ask you this, Black Dragon. You say you barely dream. I won't argue the point if we take the colloquial term of dreaming. That I won't argue with. But how often do you come up with an idea of, gee, what if I did this? What if this change in society took place? Do you ever have thoughts like that? Because that's another version of dreaming. I'm just reading what Carl wrote here. He's going, Jason Donovan and Cliff Richard sang Dreamcoat, also cover versions. Jason Donovan played Joseph in the theater. JD is an actor from Australia, was in Neighbours TV series. I watched the Neighbours show very, very seldom. Of course, in all fairness, I watch very few of the so-called sitcoms. Yeah, my mom had the same problem with rats. I wouldn't personally raise ants. We get sugar ants in our apartment all the time. You know, they do end up dying. Sorry. I won't kill the ones outside anymore, but I'm certainly not living and letting them live in my house. Yeah, well, and that's just one of those things that Iowa walks. These are the challenges. So this is what you've got to look at in order to contain it. Okay. I don't know how to contain ants. I find they get into my house. Sorry, I do my best to be a non-combatant. I am a pacifist, but ants, spiders, and flies do not have the luxury of living in my house. Okay. Mind you, I don't let bullies into my house to stay there either. But take a look at the world. If you feel that you're in a basically you're in an ant farm, time to start doing your task. Put the effort into making your life, into something you consider is more effective. Just kind of a thought, if you will. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Black Dragon, the reality is there are a staggering number of people like you that have written a poem or written a story, and either you went, oh, it's just not good enough. Okay, that is one of the backbones of what I'm doing with the publishing company, is taking people's work and going, here it is. Because I'll tell you, I actually knew the artist. I forget what his name is now, but this guy took a white canvas. Okay, it was just a plain white canvas, painted it completely off white, put a baseboard wood frame around it, called it whiteout, and sold it for $1 million. Then we had a little while ago, a couple of years back, there was a cartoon on, okay, called Stickman. Okay, I'm telling you, the reality is what you don't see as important may be all the difference it takes. I listened to an interview from Leanne Rimes. Okay, and she said she wrote a song called My Life. I think that's what she said it was called. She said to her it was just that. She wrote the song because that's what she felt. But a fan of hers wrote her a letter stating that that very song is exactly what stopped them from killing themselves the day they found it. Okay, and as Leanne put it, you cannot gauge how other people are going to accept your work. Okay, you can only gauge whether you like what you've done. And I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with Jack here. Don't throw your poems out. Don't throw your stories out. Okay, because you never know how really good they may be. I don't know, in all fairness there, Christine. We are right now only 18 degrees, so we're in the low 60s, in the mid 60s right now. For me, I'm a little overheating, but what the heck. As for how I'm feeling, not half bad. Didn't get a lot accomplished today. Ended up lazing around watching. First of all, I watched Die Hard 4, and then I turned around and watched ID4. So I didn't get a lot done this afternoon. Oh, Jack. Yeah, Jack's just asking, can you define pacifism? I consider myself one, but could see violence in the future to defend. A pacifist is quite literally, in my eyes, somebody who, when possible, avoids violence. Okay, this does not mean they cannot fight. It means that they will choose peace and communication over conflict and fighting. Okay, to me, that's what a pacifist is. Rest assured, in the future, if things go sour, there's a real danger point with some pacifists. I was told by a chap he used to be an enforcer, and he goes, I'm the worst type of person to have mad at you. I looked at him, I said, why? He goes, because I'm the kind of person that if you set me off, I'll wait for a number of years till everything cools down and you forget about it. Then I'll come back and get even. I looked at him and I said, man, you've never been ticked off a pacifist, have you? He goes, well, a pacifist won't fight. I says, well, basically correct. But if you do tick one off enough to go looking for you, number one, they won't wait 2 or 3 years. And number two, they're certainly not going to get even. Okay. Black's going, what do we got here? Oh, Carl, yes. The shirt is the Chiefs. The Chiefs are they are a hockey team in Kelowna here. Okay. And you are right, but there it is there. Okay. They are they're a hockey team in Kelowna. Okay. They are, I think they'd be classified as double A or something to that effect. They're not the step before getting into the NHL. They're one prior to that. Okay. But the shirt itself, if you've ever watched the MMA, okay, there's a young lass on there. Okay, they call her Sweet Maria. Okay, I knew her before she got in there. And, from that standpoint, she's the one that gifted this to me. She gifted this to me and then took off out of the city. But, so am I keeping it around? Certainly. Eventually I'll probably wear it out, but, for the time being, I'm just looking at this, yeah. Jack goes, when I write, it's a mix of science fiction, of fantasy and sci-fi. But my poems are normally for other people, which I tell them the poem is for them, and I will not copy, save, or repeat it. Okay, I actually have a lot of poems I've written to other people. And what I've turned around and done is gone, look, yes, I wrote this for you, but do you mind if I print it and put it in an anthology, providing I don't put your name to it? And they turned around and went, yeah, no problem, go ahead. Okay. So I mean, from that standpoint, I will be most of the poems I've written. I've written some that are pretty dark, some that are pretty off kilter. But the ones that are family oriented, I will be putting together. I will have a number of different anthologies coming out, some of which will use the same poems, absolutely. But they are going to end up getting put out. But like I said, take a look at the world. If you feel you're you're part of an ant farm, time to get busy and make this ant farm excessively successful. Take a look at the industriousness of actual ants. These guys don't stop. I've watched colonies of ants, albeit on TV, because I'm not going to the Amazon, that will literally use that. They will sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the community. Humans don't seem to have that drive. Okay. Which, I'm not thinking anybody should go kill themselves for the betterment of society. Although I am a firm believer that the Darwin Awards are a pretty decent thing. The one thing I will say about the whole idea of yours there, Emmy. Emmy said, revenge is a dish best served cold. It's a great saying, but the thing that stops me from getting revenge on people is this. I look at it and go, number one, did they do it intentionally? And much more importantly, in a lot of ways, number two, will getting revenge actually do anything to change what happened? Now, this is just my way of looking at it, but I have decided that if I'm part of an experiment, part of the matrix, I mean, I look at the world, I look at these different options. Oh, we're caught in a massive simulation. In my opinion, no, you're not. But if you're caught in a simulation, we are talking about computer coding. Okay, learn to modify the system. Learn to do the coding so you can change the way your world is working inside that matrix. This is your challenge. This, if you will, is my challenge to you. I'm looking at what I know, going, okay, I've got to change things. Okay, I've got to change things because I'm not happy with my life. Okay, there's a flip side to karma, by the way, guys. Okay. Oh, you're more than welcome there, Joe. Um, there is a flip side to karma. I heard it called dharma. Karma is when you do something bad and things come around and catch up to you. Dharma is when you turn around and do something good and then things come up and catch up to you on that end. So I mean, from my standpoint, I'm like, I was really happy with the fact I got all of the newsletters out. Those of you that are waiting for the hard copies, every one of them is now literally in the mail. Okay, I have no way of controlling it from there. That's the one drawback with the hard copy. But like I said, whether people want hard or soft, that is not a concern to me. It's going out the same way anyway. But I got them all out. I don't remember I think I set them out Sunday night. I'd have to go back and look. But I am glad that people are enjoying them. And come to think of it, what do we got here? Which is 15, 26, 41. So the circulation is still really small right now, but I am starting to push for it. Okay. But we are now up to 41 going out, and who knows how much they're getting shared. But I took a look at the way my world is working and went, okay, if somebody's watching, which I know they are, I'm just going to follow the laws that are written because I just don't do the vertical bar scene very well. Haven't tried it this lifetime, don't intend to. But it is time we start looking at each other and going, okay, how can we support each other? How can we really get things up and running and change the path this world is on? It is up to us, not up to the elites. It's not up to the government. It's not up to your neighbor. Your life is in your hands. Okay. Now, when we talk about this idea, for instance, in your case, Joe, completing that dream book. Okay. Absolutely. Every night before you go to bed, when you're ready to go to sleep, thank your guides. Now that you've got access to two of them, turn right about and turn right around and thank your guides for providing you with the extra insights. Okay, because the dreams will give you insight. There's no question there. Okay, I've already started. Where it comes to the newsletter, I've already started writing both the November and the December one. Because what I'm doing is getting ahead of myself, or at least striving to. I'll be up and on the go, especially since I sat down and did basically nothing for 3 hours. I've got to get things done tonight. But I'm looking at the world and going, okay, here's my little lab. Okay. And by getting things reorganized, I can actually make this dream of mine a physical reality. Yes, it's going to take a lot of work. But what else am I going to do until I drop dead? And for the last time, I mean. Now, the thing I look at is this: get a picture in your head of what you would like to see your world look like. Myself, it's pretty simple. Okay. I look at my world and go, I desire to be number one, we'll start with out of financial stress. That is the first marker. I will again get to the point of being debt free. That I know will happen within the year. Okay. And then I'm done with it. I've got a car. I've got a house over my roof over my head. I don't require to own my house. In time, I may well buy an apartment building. Okay, when the money presents itself. But take a look at your own life and look at it as though you're looking down on an ant's nest, on an ant farm. Take a look at that and see what kind of a creation you can come up with. See what you are capable of doing. I'll tell you, you may surprise yourself. Okay, and come up with some phenomenal, some phenomenal outcomes. Yeah, iWalks goes, never hold back for capitalism. Just share it like in the air. But I'm an ant with antlers. Okay. And I do agree with that. And there are ants with antlers, by the way, which are really kind of neat to watch. But I absolutely agree with you in this, especially in this aspect. Money cannot be, cannot be, well, can be. I encourage you to make money a side effect, not a goal. Okay. When I look at all the work I'm doing, I've already got it geared that 80% of my net profit will go back to the community. Whether that means going to somebody that's struggling to put food on the table or requires money for gas, doesn't matter. Okay. Whatever the situation. Okay, I will be turning 80% of my net profit, back over to employees, contributors, other artists or authors, whatever comes in, and the customers. Combined between them, and let's not forget, I'm still keeping 20% for business growth and savings. So this is why I say net profit, 80% will go back to the community. And this is a formula that I would much rather, much rather encourage people to do than go, I mean, think about it, quite literally. Now, I only charge $80 an hour for consulting. I've been doing it for 45 years. Got a vague idea what I'm up to, I like to think. But to be clear, I have been paid quite seriously $2,600 an hour. But most people can't afford that, so I'm just not going there. And that I'm going to have to call back. But that one I will call back as soon as I get done the stream. But here's the thing. Okay. Now, I've done that. I've turned around, figured out where it comes this little ant farm thing that I'm watching. I'm looking at what's this? Carl goes, I used to listen to Massive Attack while spaced out. Now, Massive Attack, I don't actually know what it is. See, now a story like that, Black Dragon, can be put to use really nicely. And it's those short little stories, these huge, I've got novels that are coming out because I tend to get a little long-winded in case you hadn't noticed. But this is why I'm going to be putting an anthology of short stories together as well. I just haven't figured out the pricing on it yet. Okay. But the thing is, Black Dragon, okay, energy can be used to fuel both healing and technology. It absolutely can be. It's just a question of figuring it out. But the first trick to that is accepting that it's possible to do it. Okay. Once you accept the fact that it's possible to make these things happen, you open the door to being able to actually accomplish it. All all invention. Well, they say necessity is the mother of all invention. Okay. All inventions are developed because of a need that is spotted or a desire that is spotted. Oh, and Carl's going spelling mistakes. I make spelling mistakes all the time. This is why I've got one of the pickiest editors available. Okay, because she is just absolutely remarkable on that end. But when I look at the world, okay, I go, is it possible I'm in an experiment? This is just a petri dish experiment. Certainly. I've imagined living a life like the Who's do from Horton Hears a Who. Okay, as in living on the end of a dandelion and there's a Who. Okay, what if that is all the situation you're dealing with? Okay. Um, Jack. Jack's asking, will disclosure happen? Disclosure already did. Okay. It hasn't happened for everybody, but disclosure already happened. From what I gather, over 60% of people interviewed believe that off-worlders exist, that they're already here. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the evidence, there is so much. Okay, there is so much evidence that even if only a fraction of it, even if only 0.1% is real, you still have off-world activity. But we've already been shown multiple people from multiple walks of life, multiple environments have reported consistently, here's what the alien I dealt with looked like. Here's what the craft I dealt with looked like. You know, here's the experience I had. This is your disclosure. Absolutely. Now, here's the neat thing, Black. I had a client years ago the doctors had given up on. She was in a wheelchair when she came to me. And by doing exactly what you're referring to, all I did was reminded her body that it could work. And when I went to pull her out of the wheelchair in the first place, I said, "Okay, come on, let's stand you up." She goes, "I can't stand up." I said, "How about if we don't discuss what you can't do, and you simply stand up? If you're standing, great. If you're not, we carry on. No harm done." Well, a year after I pulled her out of the wheelchair, I ran into her in the grocery store. Not literally, but she was on a cane. She had never been back in the wheelchair since. It was at that point that she told me that when she came to me in the first place, she didn't believe I could do anything about it. Right, but her mom did, so she came. She had been trapped in a wheelchair for 3.5 years when she was brought to me. You know, the reality is, yes, did I assist her in remembering that her body can work? Absolutely. Am I the only one that can do it? Absolutely not. Each and every one of you has that capacity. And if you want to chalk it up to being a side effect of being part of an experiment, knock yourself out. Okay? Because I'm telling you, the more you believe in what you personally can do, the more effective things are going to get. The way that particular person knew about me was because I was regularly, well, my son went to the same school. Okay. And this was one of the students that was at the school. Now you got to remember at that time, I was already working in the psychic field. So I was very open about this is what I do. So they found out about it, talked to me about it, and away we went. Okay. Now I'm looking at it going, no. In all fairness, it wasn't even the same grade. Okay, it was just a kid that was in the school. The parent caught wind of it and brought the kid to me. And because what had happened was the kid was told by the doctors, I'm sorry, we know you're only 17, but we can't do anything for you. You're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Okay. I don't believe in you're going to be. I mean, let's face it, I had a stroke on December 28th of 2018. Okay. I had a stroke at that point. I went in unable to walk, unable to talk. And I turned around, and in 2 days, I was walking enough for them to cut me loose on day pass. The thing is, in answer to your question there, Carl, the issue of teaching, I'm not going to be giving any more information on the individual, but my entire life has been spent teaching people how to move ahead. Okay, it's only now, if you will, that I'm actually looking at it, embracing it, and going, okay, let's see what I can do about making this into a living. Okay, but it all started. I'm gonna hurt myself. That side of it all really started when I put this book into print. Believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Okay, then I turned around and went, believe in your business and follow your dreams. The last I just ran into, okay, that I just tracked down and been looking for it for months, is a former business client. And then we get with believe in your finances. Right now, I'm in the middle of tying off believe in your job. But these are just simple ways of making certain that I take the information that I've got. What do we got here? It's a simple issue of taking of getting things done. Okay, so that I can take that information and get it out to as many people as possible. What we have to look at is literally where your life is standing right now. Now, I will tell you from my experience, no petri dish. Mankind, well, more to the point, spirit kind was given an opportunity to experience the corporeal life with limited senses. Okay, and with limited physical senses. And net result, okay, many took them up on it. Okay, but as society evolved, there were many other races that were built that came into existence with varying degrees of evolution. Okay, mankind itself, I discovered by my own research, well, more to the point, by my own experience, mankind was built for war. Okay, and many spirits decided, okay, it's a shorter lifespan, but that means we get to experience more things. Okay, so this physical body of mine will die and stay that way at some point. Okay. I mean, Lord knows I've made enough runs at it. But the world itself literally is one that we can change. I gotta ask directly here, Carl. You've got December 18th here. Oh, okay. December 18th, I'm taking you were diagnosed with COPD. You know, what I found with doctors is this. Okay. Doctors are reasonably good at diagnosing, but almost useless at prognosis. Meaning they can certainly tell you, they can certainly tell you this is what's wrong. At least some of the older doctors. Modern ones, I'm pretty certain they're flipping a coin half the time. But modern doctor, well, I was talking to a guy, he's 84. He looks at me and he goes, he says, you're only 60, die now. I looked at him and I said, pardon? He says, after you turn 60, all they're going to do is offer you a pill and tell you to go home and have a nice day. I'm like, I'm not taking the pills anyway. They already tried that years ago. But what we have to look at here is, where do you desire your life to go? Ultimately, very true, Philip. Not everybody is built for war. We do have both sides of the coin. If you didn't have violent people, you wouldn't know what passive ones were. Okay. And much as I will tell you wholeheartedly, war has never brought peace. I will still take my hat off, if I actually wore one, to the people that have chosen to step into the first responders setup or the military and put their life on the line to protect the people around me so that I don't have to. Okay. But now something that came to me anyway, Philip, is I've been hiding my entire life. Really 55 years of it. Okay. Ever since I got out of the my labs, I've been hiding from people. But it came to my attention that if I don't come out in the open and start telling people what's going on, okay, if I don't come out and start going, this is the path that you've got available to you, we're going to have some pretty serious problems. Okay, so it is time to actually make things happen. At least in my opinion. And as you can tell, my throat is starting to seize. That's always fun. Mind you, we're closing in on the 2-hour mark. I look at it this way. I definitely take my hat off to somebody that's willing to step in front and deal with the conflict. I've been told that if I'm pushed into a corner, I could be dangerous. But I just as soon not get pushed into a corner. But thanks very much. The closest thing that I'm interested in doing in the way of war is quite seriously, that is the closest I intend on getting to war. Of course, I don't think anybody intends on getting into war. Okay, but from my standpoint, I'll write it. I write some pretty violent stuff. Yeah, Philip goes, there are a lot of sexy gladiators, but I prefer we keep the fighting in entertainment, like professional wrestling, not invading towns and bombing and bloodshed. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Now, even the MMA. I mentioned this young lass I know, Sweet Maria. Okay, I don't watch the MMA, but I am going out of my way to go down in public to the local restaurant here that's going to be airing the fight. I will go down there to support her. Okay, just because of the fact that she's doing something she really does enjoy. Now, the neat part about the gladiatorial thing, I remember the gladiatorial revolt. Okay, way back, I think it was about 370 that we had it, 370 AD, and that was a revolt and a half. Oh, war leaves absolute horrendous side effects. Yeah, Carl goes, I have grudge with doctors who give injections, double the test dosage. I was healthy before being arrested at my home for non-complying with pills. They arrested you for not taking enough pills? I gotta ask Carl, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're over in the United Kingdom, are you not? I look at this. Yeah. Jack's going, I don't have an issue with soldiers. I have a problem with freaking bureaucrats that send them. You know, back in the Middle Ages, when kings ruled countries, when a king said, we're going to war, the king was on the horse in the front of the battle. The politicians today go, we're going to war, so you guys get out there and fight. You know, this does not bring any sort of peace. Thank you so much for clarifying, Carl. That is just horrendous. They tell here they arrest you if you're taking pills. There they arrest you if you don't. I don't know, something seems a little backwards there. On the flip side of that, I did hear from a friend of mine that grew up in England. What he said was, over there when he was growing up, you could buy a head of lettuce for like $1. But if you wanted a candy bar, you had to pay 5. And to my way of thinking, this would be reasonable. I do wish that that was the case here. Yeah, World War II. I mean, let's face it. Hitler had an idea, and this is not condoning what he did by any functional stretch. The man was brilliant, had an idea, used a couple of reasonings behind it that didn't work. Right. But there is no question. And my understanding of that whole period, especially given the fact that I remember that war, I didn't actually go into that war directly. First World War, I did. But my understanding of the analysis of it was that had he not gone after Russia in the winter, he'd have taken the world. Okay. He had the drive to pull it off. But you don't tango with Russia in the winter unless you're Swiss or Canadian. Okay. Everybody else seems to be a little bit behind schedule on that. Personally, I'm quite happy that I have been able to stay out of the limelight of war. Now my eldest son is young enough and old enough that he could quite conceivably, if Canada were to go to war, he could quite conceivably get drafted. My youngest one won't get drafted. Mind you, he's literally got a mild case of CP, cerebral palsy. So he's out of the running. Me, well, number one, I'm 60. And number two, I'm still listed epileptic. And something in the military that says, if you're epileptic, giving you an automatic machine gun is a bad idea. Okay, now I'm personally, I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you this. That kind of behavior, I don't personally feel the person should have been put in prison. Why keep paying for an individual like that to keep breathing? I do hope that the munchkin gets as much help as he can. to put that behind him and become productive in his own way. You know, I have a whole different outlook on what to do with people that torture anybody. Never mind children. Okay, I'm not good with the whole idea of torture. I'm not good with the whole idea of any sort of that kind of violence. Like I said, I'm very much a pacifist. Okay, and I will not. Well, yeah. Black Dragon goes, Jack, the war I was in was to protect oil fields. Do you mind sharing what that other war was that most people can't see? They're black? Because there's a lot of hidden wars that go on that, and here's the other thing is, a lot of what you were likely told, and I won't go into it here because of one little detail. I'm not about to put my stream on the line for making comment. I made a mistake at one point and got a warning on it from, I got a warning from YouTube about a comment I made. I don't even know what the comment was anymore. So I just don't go there in a lot of cases. However, talking face to face or privately, I got no problem saying my opinion. But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Nightmare. Harming a child just goes way beyond functionally acceptable. I mean, heck, I thought I'd ended up like I beat myself up literally for for 17 years. Right, no, for I guess about 14 years. Um I gotta ask Derek, what pray tell is a rumble? By the way, Derek, glad you could join us. Yeah, there is so much that is just nodding. Oh, yeah, the way I figure it, I've learned that that keeping my mouth shut on certain topics is usually better for me. Because the problem is, if I go down the wrong road, I can get very agitated, and I don't like that feeling. That being said, though, whether I go that route, am I intending on expanding um my social media presence? Absolutely. Okay, am I going to put myself in jeopardy, as it were? No, not any more than I already have. I don't think, anyway. Now, I just noticed here. Okay, now, where are we? Get that out of the way, just so I can see what I'm doing, which is usually a neat trick anyway. Gotta get that sorted around. Okay. Nope, that's not what I need because that's next month, next week. Okay. Tomorrow we will be dealing with with gaming and that aspect of it. And I do have to do this because I would like to be prepared tomorrow. So what we're going to be dealing with, I'll start with what I'm doing with my campaign as a twisted outlook. I will have some figures out. I'm not buying a whole lot of new ones right now, but I am actually painting them. Okay. So tomorrow we'll be dealing with the gaming world and how imagination can impact. Okay. Well, put that away and then forgot about it. Then we go to Wednesday and we will be dealing with how to cope with people with that have developed dementia. Okay. Now understand, I am no clinical psychologist. I am not trained in this field, but we will still look at it because it's still very important. Then on the 28th, I won't be here. On Friday, we're going to be discussing the elephant race and its various permutations. And then on the 30th, we're going to take a look at investing. What works and why, in my opinion. Bear in mind, I've tried a lot of different investment methods and pretty much to no avail. I found one method that works like a charm. Well, two. With this in mind, we are at the 2 hour mark here, guys. So as you can tell, the throat's starting to pack. Think that has to do with why I was talking for 2 hours straight? Oh, absolutely. Some do. You know, but I am going to bring this to a close. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay. But thank you so much for sharing your time with me today, guys. Oh, one quick note. This stream is only 2 hours. The last couple of weeks, by the end of the stream, there was already 24 hours plus viewing on the stream. So I'm really happy about that. But thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And I will absolutely be back again. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.